What's going on, everyone? My name is Cyan, and in today's Factory Blueprint series, we're going to go over how to take a basic Blender build like this and turn it into a stackable Blender Blueprint tower, it's a tongue twister, that you can expand as much as you need and use for any recipe in the game. So if that sounds like something you're into, be sure to leave a like, subscribe so you don't miss out on future builds. And without any further ado or tongue twisters, let's get right into the build. So let's get started by first setting up a simple template that we will then use to make the rest of our design. So we're going to grab a 4-meter foundation, place it down so you've got a 3x5 area to work with. I use the Infinite Zoom mod so I can make big platforms like that in one click. So what we're going to do is place down a blender, and the important thing is to have the right edge on the center of this foundation here, and we want it to be lined up with the second row of foundations from the front. So once we have it in place, you can put it down. First thing I like to do is set up the belt inputs. So I'm going to line up with the left one, and we're going to go up one space from the middle, place it down, go to the right input, same thing, go to the center of the foundation. We're going to go down one space this time, you can place it down. Now we're going to take a lift, and you can use whatever speed you prefer. I'm using Mark 5s for this design, and we're going to place it so that it is outputting towards the input. Do that for both, and connect with belt. So we can now get rid of these 4 foundations. And actually, I'm sorry, 6 foundations. We don't need those either. Alright, so to place the lifts underneath, I'm going to place one facing into the designer, and the other one is going to be facing out. The reason we do this is so when we snap the splitters on, they have nice even spacing. So we're going to place these splitters with the inputs facing left, and they're outputting to the right. We're going to go ahead and do that for both. And that's going to handle the inputs. So to do the pipes, we are going to grab a pipeline junction, and I like to leave room to do branches and stuff like that and move around. You need a little more room for pipelines, so we're going to dedicate this foundation row to the first row of pipes, and all I'm going to do is put it in the middle and then line it up with that first input. Place it down. Now, I don't like using floor holes. I find that they are just a little unreliable. They may have been fixed, but until I know that for sure, I avoid them. So you could use them if you want, but in this case, we can do a direct connection, and that is good in my book. For the next one, we're going to move into the third row of foundations. Again, going in the middle, and we can nudge the junction into place. So you can see those are both lined up. Now for this one, you would think that this would connect. For some reason it doesn't. So all I do is put a small connection right here, and then make my full connection in. So now we're going to work on the outputs. We do the same thing, grab a junction, place it in the middle of this row of foundations. For some reason, this one does work. So we're going to go ahead and do one solid connection all the way in. Alright, this next part is pretty important, so make sure you get the placement of this correct, otherwise it will affect the later iterations of the design. Do a borehole coming down, So we're going to take the floor hole and place it one back from the middle here. And connect this to the blender. And underneath, we're going to place it so that the lift is facing out of the designer. And we are now going to snap a merger so that the output is facing the same direction that the splitters are facing. So the very last thing I do here is connect power underneath using an outlet. I just clip the wires. If you don't want to do that, you can skip this step. And what we need to do now is remove all of the foundations so that we are left with just the floating machines and our connections. We will be putting the foundations back later, but for now, to tile everything properly, we have to get rid of them. So we're going to go ahead and save this as 1x Blender template. Now we can leave this one in place, and what we're going to do is grab the blueprint and place it inside of the designer. So that saves us the time of building this all over again. So we want to make sure that it's lined up, and it is, and that these inputs will make a connection. They do. So we can go ahead and put this down. All right, and we're going to go and make the connection. So start with the belts, move on to pipes, of course we can do the power as well. Okay, and now that gives us the left-hand input. So what we can do is we're going to add the floor and ceiling in. So start by putting a 4-meter foundation down. This part is completely optional. You can, well, not adding the floor, but how you make the floor. You can use any 1-meter foundation you like. I'm going to use the glass foundations. Once the floor is built, we're going to take our 4-meter foundations and build them 4 tall. Now I'm going to use the frame floors, but again, you can just use normal 1-meter foundations and they will do the same trick. But I think these look nice, and we are going to use the fact that there are these openings here to our advantage when we are moving items up and down between levels. All right, with that all done, we're going to go ahead and save this as 2x Blender template to the left, I guess, or temporary, whichever one works. And we're going to hit save. Now, before we do the vertical connections, I want to switch the splitters and mergers, or the inputs and outputs, to the right, because for this design, we essentially snake our way up, going from the left to the right and then back, and that's how we can have an infinitely stackable tower as much as the belts can support. So in order to do that, we just need to switch where the inputs are coming from. So for the next level, right after this one, we're going to go from the right side. So we're going to place these splitters back on, this time coming from the right, and reconnect our belts. The pipes are directional from both sides, it doesn't matter. And for the mergers, we're going to do the same thing. So instead of coming in from this side, we're going to enter from over here. Those changes made, we can just go ahead and save this one as 2x Blender template to the right. Hit save. All right, back around on the front, we are going to load in the 2x Blender to the left and start making the vertical connections. So the first thing I like to do is for the belts. So we're going to place down 2 floor holes in the first foundation here, just a little bit in from the corners on each side. And using lifts, we can see that these line up perfectly. We can make those connections. Now, I don't recommend putting these in just yet, because that will increase the height of your blueprint and make stacking the next one on top a little awkward. So for now, leave these out. We would have to make this connection anyway, but hopefully in future updates that is worked out. Now for the pipelines, we are going to mimic this look here in this set of foundations, and we are going to avoid using floor holes again. However, if you want to, you can just put them down. So the first thing we're going to do is take the first line here, and we are going to shift it over so that we are going into the correct location. In order to do that, we're just going to do a simple S-bend like that. Once you have it in place, you can put it down. For the other line up, we are going to take it and bring it over so that we are just shy of the spot we want to be. So one space like that is enough for a good turn. So we should be left with this look here. And again, we don't want to build this connection, but we can see what it looks like. If we place this down, it would add to the height, and we don't want that right now, but you can see we will enter through there and go up and back in. And then for this one, we get the same idea using the space in the frame floor. We turn up nicely and everything is in a nice line. Now for the output, we are going to mimic that look, and instead of trying to cram a pipeline in here, we are going to move this one over here. So both of our outputs will come out of this space here. So to start, we're going to place down a conveyor floor hole, and we can now see why we had to shift over the mergers here. So we're going to connect these together. Again, don't make this top connection. Now for the output, we're going to bring it so that it is just shy of this space here. So we're going to go 2 there. And again, we can check and see how it would look if we were to build it. You can see that everything lines up nicely. So we're going to leave that out for now. And we're going to go ahead and save this over itself. And we're going to have to repeat these steps for the right. So we're going to go ahead and load the right side now. And this will be slightly different. So we're going to go to the opposite side. So we just built the inputs going up this side, and now we need to have them going up this side. You can see that the splitters are outputting over here. So we're going to place our floor holes in line. Now this one connects directly up. You can listen for the click. We can make our connections. Now for the pipelines, we're going to do a very similar thing as we did on the first level. So we're going to shift over to the right, and then we're going to bring the pipeline just so it's shy of this space here. Alright, so the next one we're going to do is over here. We're going to drag it over. So we want to be on this space, so we can actually rotate and bring it up. And just like the other side, we want to be on this space here, so we're going to just make a small piece to make that connection. Now for the outputs, this is truly where shifting these over comes in handy and is almost required, because we would not be able to make this connection otherwise. The belt wouldn't be able to make the turn. Ask me how I know. recorded this video 3 times now. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to do that for the output. And same thing with the pipeline. We're going to bring it over so we are just shy of that space. So we're going to save this as over, again, the right-hand blueprint, and hit save. Now let's load the left one up, and we're going to make our true blueprint now. So starting with the left-hand blueprint, you're then going to grab the right hand, and placement at first is going to be tricky because in the designer it does not recognize this bottom blueprint as a blueprint. It just sees it as the individual parts. But once you get it in place, you can hit H. You can see we fit in perfectly, and everything should line up. So we have our 2 inputs here, and they're going to line up with those. We've got our pipelines, and everything is ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and place this down. Just got to hold your breath and hope it doesn't crash. So we're going to start by making our connections with our belts. So you can see these come straight up through the floor. And then we can make our connections directly up. So now what we have is items entering in down here on the left. They will go up into each machine and continue up the lift, coming back this way from right to left now. Again, filling up each machine as they go, and then ready to go up to the next level, where the cycle then repeats. We're going to do the same thing with our fluids now. So we're going to take this first connection here, drag it up, so we are over, and we can directly connect in with an S-bend back. And over here, we're going to drag up, place it down, and connect it. That handles the pipelines going in, and we like that the flow indicators line up. Now on this side here for the outputs, we're going to do the same thing. Drag our lift up. You can see everything lines up nicely there. And for the pipeline, we're going to do the same thing like we did on the bottom. So we'll connect up to the top. Bring this over. We're going to be just shy right there. And turn and connect. Now the last thing we can do is power, and I like to just keep this simple. On the input side, I will make a connection. So we're going to grab our outlet, place one down, drag it to the bottom, and connect. So this is where we can join power up, and it will just continue up. And with that, we have all of our connections made. So items and fluids are able to flow down and out and up to the top. So we have essentially created a vertical manifold. All right, the last thing that I like to do is add some pillars in the corner, and this just makes it so that it looks a little more polished, a little less floaty. And if you wanted to, you could put this outlet in a pillar. I like having them exposed for ease of access. And I recommend setting up a directory for these. You can go ahead and save that. You can add any specific information you want. All right, the next thing we can do is set up the same thing except coming in from the right. Sometimes it's just handy to have both directions ready to go. So we can place down the right input first, and then put the left one on top. Again, this is not required, but if you find yourself using these a lot, you may notice that this is just something handy to have. And then we'll go ahead and make our connections. Once that is complete, we can save that as 4x blender to the right. And again, it might not be bad to set up another directory so it's easy to find. Once you're done, you can hit save. And it's at this point, if you want, you can take these temporary designs and place some pillars on them and turn them into permanent designs. All right, with that all done, let's go ahead and do a simple demo to highlight what these are capable of. So we're gonna make some very simple fused modular frames. So go ahead and take a look at the basic recipe here. You can see we need some heavy modular frames, some aluminum casings, and some nitrogen gas. So pretty simple stuff. In this scenario, gas rises, unlike fluids, so you don't actually have to worry about head lift. So if we just have it coming out of this fluid buffer here, and it will rise from the bottom up. However, it will not ball down very well. So we would need pumps in that situation. So for this case, gases from the bottom, but fluids normally come down from the top. All right. So let's go ahead and grab our blender setup here, and we're going to rotate it around until we have our inputs where we want them, like so. So let's put it on the grid, and we can see we've got our 2 item inputs here. We've got our fluid inputs over there, and the outputs are heading to the opposite side here. If that's something you wanted to change, you are absolutely able to do that. It's just my experience where I find there's already something going on over here on this side to get these items in. So I find it easier to move down the line and bring those products, to a different part of the factory instead of going back to where I already have stuff. But again, you can change that however you see fit. So we're gonna go ahead and place this down. Can go ahead and pick our recipe. So we said we want to do fused modular frames. I have the no power setting turned on just to make this easier. So our recipes are set, and we are going to go ahead and bring in the first items here. So we've got heavy modular frames here, we've got the aluminum here, and the nitrogen gas. So you can watch the items move through. You can see each one is filling up, and they are ready to go down here. As the belts fill up and the machines fill up, more will go down the rest. You can see the heavy modular frames now making their way. The aluminum, of course, will take longer because it's got a larger stack size. And we can watch as the gas is flowing out. Each pipe is expanding. Again, these only need 37.5 per minute, so it doesn't take too much in terms of the pipelines here. And we are watching as this is starting to rise, and our first machine is turning on. Now, as again, like before, the bottom machines are going to fill up, and that will allow more of the nitrogen gas to go up. You can see the flow rate increasing quite a bit. And if we come up top here, we've already got one machine turning on. And here's the next one. So we could, of course, continue this if we wanted to add more. It'd be as simple as grabbing the correct side. So we're inputting from the left now, so we're going to bring the left one out. Say we only wanted to add 2, we can do that. Items are going up. Let's paste that in, paste that in. For power again, we're going to keep it on this side. So I'm just going to drag power line up. and over. There we go. These are turned on. Last thing we need is the gas. Again, drag it up. Over and in. We should have gas rising up. We do. Perfect flow rate, no problems there. And these are going to start working any minute. Of course, we need the output over here. And let's give ourselves a storage chest so we can see just how much this is producing. There we go, got 10 already. Probably about 8 total, give or take, but let's say we got 300 divided by 37.5, 8, wow, look at my math go. So let's add the last 2 on top. Again, just showing how simple this is to do. If you have a hover pack at this stage of the game you should. So it's very simple to increase production. Again, let's just do some belts. We'll get power going again. Set the recipes, the machines start filling up. And we'll get the gas line going the rest of the way. Now, of course, in this scenario, we don't need any of this, so you can reclaim this, take it out of the build. It's not a necessary component. Same goes for the fluid outputs if you want, right? We can clear this all out. And now we have more space if we need to supplement, let's say, another nitrogen line, we can do that and bring that up in this space instead. So you could technically leave it in and just take out the connections. You know, there's some flexibility here in the design to make it work however you really need it to. Of course, let's set those up and we can see these are filling up and getting to work. Now this is going to be the max of the pipeline, but everything should continue working nicely. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like. And if you want to grab the downloads for these blueprints, they will be available. So check the link down below in the description. As always, appreciate y'all so much. Have a good one, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.